Humidifiers. I'm Tyler Bonnet.
And I am Kenzie Nystrom. And we also have another team member who wasn't able to make it today, named Brandy.
So I'm a management major. I'm graduating in December. I'm going to be in charge of sales and marketing. The reason for this, I've been at PetSmart for about 4.5 years. I've been a manager there for 1.5 years. So I'm kind of familiar with the customers, what they're looking for, etc.
And I'm Kenzie. I'm a business administration major here, and I also graduate this December. I have a very cross-functional background, so I was able to bring a different kind of aspect to the business. I also dealt with a lot with the finances of this. Our other team member is Brandy. She is an HR major. She's graduating in December of 2016. She dealt with a lot of our market research, and she also is into snakes. She owned them for 7 years and loves reptiles.
So a little bit about our company. What our product is, we're offering the first humidifier on the market that is actually going to be, you can set the range of it instead of setting the hours at which it runs. So this is going to let you specifically choose a range for your reptile because every reptile is different. So a little bit about why we chose this. Working at PetSmart, I started in the pet care department. When I'd get in the morning after a reptile shipment, we'd get about 14 reptiles in, and about half of them would be dead. The reason for this was due to humidity issues, which we will get to. And then you can tell.
Yeah, and Brandy has a very personal experience with this. She owned reptiles for 7 years, and a lot of the problems she had was she wasn't able to regulate the humidity within the tank well. So she would be gone like at school all day or work, and her reptile would either have shedding issues or respiratory issues because the humidity in the tank wasn't regulated enough. And she ended up having to give her snakes away because she wasn't calm enough to monitor the humidity to help it let them help.
So as I said, the solution is our humidifier. It is the first one on the market that will be dealing with humidity ranges. Currently on the market, our competitors are going to be ZooMed, All Living Things, and then like PetSmart proprietary brands, Petco proprietary brands, etc. Theirs, like I said before, they're only set on a time scale, and the reason that is not favorable is depending on what kind of cage you have. If you have an open cage, if you have a closed cage, it's all gonna. Sorry about that. Depending on the different type of cage, it's gonna retain humidity different, and so. So not having the correct humidity, this can lead to death, can lead to respiratory problems, lead to shedding problems. And working with reptiles, I've seen major problems with this, specifically at PetSmart. When you have multiple employees doing the humidity at night and in the morning, it is not consistent, and this is leading to a lot of pet loss. So right here, this is going to be a little display. On the chart, we're going to have a chart on your humidifier that actually lets the customer know exactly what range you want for your specific reptile. The reptiles that we chose are just some of the common reptiles that you're going to see at pet stores, like Pet Supply Plus, etc. So in the tank itself, we're going to have something that reads the humidity, which is that little black and red dot in the top right. We want that to be as far away from where the spray is going into the tank, so you get an overall humidity range, not just the part where the water mainly is sitting.
Yeah, our value proposition is that we are able to have the tank regulate itself without having to just set it on a time. And the chart's really going to help the owners because it's going to tell them what humidity, because we found later on that in our surveys that we had, people actually don't know the humidity that their reptile tank is supposed to be at. And this is also going to save the consumer time because they don't have to look at the tank all the time and make sure they're checking the regularity of the humidity. It's also going to peace of mind if they're at work or at school, they're able to know that the humidity in the reptile tank is accurate. And it's also a potential money saver because right now what people use for the humidity in their tank is like mothballs or like the chips that they put on the bottom of the tank to keep the humidity regulated. And they have to keep buying those every month or every week that they need to replace them. So the humidity or the humidifier that we're offering is going to regulate it and it's going to save money because you don't have to keep buying it.
Another nice thing about our humidifier compared to competitors is we want to get a big water tank. Our competitor's water tank, you're lucky you can get it to last 24 hours. We want a water tank that will last multiple days just to make it easier on the consumer.
So for our customer segment, we are a niche market because research to know that you actually can have a reptile and have a job with the maintaining the humidity level. So some key metrics that we have is looking at how much the animal is shedding and making sure that it's shedding correctly and that it's eating correctly. And then we also want to measure the humidity levels to make sure that the range that we're setting it to is accurate within the tank. So we also did some surveys, like I mentioned. We got 42 results back, and 53% were between the ages of 18 and 24 that answered these surveys. We had these surveys through Tyler's employees that he works with, and also through reptile blogs. We also found that 51% of the results were female. 59 do not actually know the correct humidity of the tank, which is why we wanted to include that pamphlet on the back that tells the humidity levels. And 70% actually experienced problems with their reptiles in the tank due to like the humidity levels we're guessing. And then on the side is all the different kind of reptiles that people said they have. This is our summary of our P&L. For the revenue, we are about $35,000. Our cost of goods sold is about $12,000. And for our cost of goods sold, we have our humidity reader at $10, the humidifier at $12, the labor about 53 cents per unit, and like additional hardware and software at $3. We came up with these numbers because for the humidifier, Tyler knew how much they were buying humidifiers at PetSmart for, and so we kind of estimated that around there. Same with the humidifier reader, and we did some research estimating the labor, and also with the additional hardware and software to have it regulate and making sure it's at the right temperature. So it gives us a gross margin of $22,000. Our expenses are about $55,000. As you can see on the side, those are all the expenses that we accounted for, and there's more detail of this on page 17 of your packet. And so that gives us a profit loss of $32,000. And a big opportunity that you could see in the financials is that it's really just B2B or B2C right now, because as Tyler knows, to get into PetSmart, it's going to take over a year to get the contracts done. So for the first year, our first projections are only for B2B. But we do know, or B2C, I'm sorry, B2C. But we do know that there is an opportunity to B2B to get B2B. But that would be in like the second year because of how long it takes for the contract.
So a little bit more about the B2B opportunity. At PetSmart, as I mentioned before, you have different employees doing different humidity levels on the reptiles, and that causes a lot of stress on them. So if you have a system that would regulate the humidity level for all reptiles, we could see massive increases in profit from this. Because at PetSmart, if we were at my store specifically, and we're one of the smaller stores, we are losing roughly $300 in reptiles a week.
So for our den investment, we're asking for $100,000 to help cover our expenses and for some cushion. In the P&L, you can see that we have a prototype of about $30,000. We estimated this on research we did, but we're not 100% sure what the actual prototype will cost us. But that is the estimate we have based on the research we've done. So that's why we have the $100,000 covering the expenses and then the cushion that we are asking for. Thank you. And what questions do you have for us?
Can you expand a little bit more on